It's Friday, June 26th. Welcome aboard to Barnstable Today. I'm Andrew Gobiel, going solo today. Thank you very much for joining us. Just a reminder that all of the meetings we cover and we discuss are available on demand at the town's website, town.barnstable.ma.us. Well, after what feels like months of rainy weather, we're finally outside once again. Overcast conditions, but forecasters do say that the weekend looks to be nice, which is why we're here just down the street from the Ocean Street docks. You've got plans. You may want to head on down this weekend and enjoy some of the shanties and some of the other events going on down here by the waterfront. First, however, a look at last evening's 5-hour-long town council meeting, called to take action on 3 separate proposed sewer projects totaling more than $50 million. Now, at the original meeting scheduled for last week, hundreds of people showed up to talk at Town Hall, forcing a 1-week postponement of the meeting to a larger venue, Barnstable High School. At issue, as mentioned, 3 separate votes on sewer projects designed to benefit the town, specifically addressing the Stewart's Creek area in Hyannisport and Wequaquet Lake in Centerville and in Hyannis. Town DPW Director Mark Ells addressed the need of the program and the years of study that went into the proposal.
We had evaluated our treatment plant, knowing that we needed to expand into these areas. We needed to make sure that we had a capacity of 4.2 million gallons per day, peak flow during summer months at that Hyannis Water Pollution Control Facility. We also knew that the first 2 prioritized sewer areas were the Wequaquet Lake area and the Stewart's Creek area. And we had received appropriations to proceed with the design of Wequaquet Lake and Stewart's Creek, respectively in 2002 and 2003, and expressed many concerns and questions regarding the design that was proposed and the costs at that time. The town's moved forward with the upgrade of its water pollution control facility in Hyannis, and we're finishing the upgrades at that facility right now. We've expanded our aeration system, and basically the entire system is ready to accept the 4.2 million gallons per day as we add these sewer expansion areas. We expect to be coming in annually with each of the areas I went through earlier and identified to you. But again, Wequaquet Lake area and Stewart's Creek area were prioritized as the first 2 that we should move forward with.
After his comments and the comments of other staff members, the public hearing began. Scores of residents were heard from. Here's just a sampling of what they had to say.
The only concern that I have for you right now, in speaking in support of what you're doing, is the Band-Aid approach. And until you're prepared to take this leadership and experience that you've talked about and make it a Cape-wide collaborative solution and take advantage of the fact that you have national seashore here and take a global approach. You have a Air Force base here. These people do not have to bear the entire burden of any of this project.
I support the notion of the need to avoid lawsuits from environmental protection agencies. I support the notion of doing a project in a smart, intelligent way and considering the environmental impacts. And I support and appreciate all the hard work that people have done to get us to this point. I think the failing aspect here is the fairness concept. And if you have people that are paying for this betterment that don't immediately require it because they have septic systems, that's not fair. And there's no reason why we as a community, the taxpayers as a whole, shouldn't bear any improvement expense on this because it benefits the Cape as a whole, which mirrors what this woman was talking about. Thank you. Mirrors what this last speaker was talking about, is doing a Cape-wide approach, and that would be ultimately the fairness. But I mean, even if it was something that didn't affect me personally, I as a taxpayer would be very happy to pay an extra $50 a year on my taxes than to have some poor soul in some other community, in part of our community, but in some other area, paying $20,000, $30,000, $40,000.
The value of my home will decrease tremendously, because if I have to add the lien onto what I'm trying to sell, and the guy across the street doesn't have to around the corner, he can ask less for his house than I will. And if you do this, you've croaked the real estate even more on the Cape.
I voluntarily upgraded my septic, which I didn't have to a Title V in 2003, October or November. And when I called the town to find out if there was any sewer plans in the horizon, they said no. So I went and I've spent, I think, close to $9,000 when I didn't have to.
One of the criticisms of the proposal was the alacrity with which it was put forward. Town Council President Fred Cherigotis explained that the Obama stimulus money was made available only a short time ago with a relatively short time horizon.
We were notified on April the 27th of the federal stimulus funds by the state. And it's not because we were dilatory in learning about that. That's the day that they formulated them and they provided those to us. We then sat down and said, all right, if we look at the funds, we have the opportunity to seek to get in line for funding at either a 0%, which would require a neutral flow policy, or at 2% with an 8.8% subsidy. That subsidy may grow depending upon how many other communities opt out of the program or cannot meet the requirements of the program. Along with that notice came the notice that in order to qualify for those funds at 2% with a minimum of an 8.8% federal subsidy, we had to have an appropriation voted on by June the 30th of this year. So that gave us less than 2 months, or just about 2 months, to do that. What we did was we determined that the best and smartest thing to do was to get in line for that funds and to present it to the public so that the public can give us their input. We didn't sit on it so that no one could hear it. This is not a project that goes forward until there's a vote. The vote hasn't been taken. We need to hear from you. But we couldn't tell you about it because we did tell the public about it as soon as we learned about it. And we scheduled it for the hearing. We had a first reading. We had a public hearing. Unfortunately, that couldn't go forward last week because we exceeded the number of people that were permitted in the room, and we're here tonight. So that's basically how it went. And that's why the conversation about a townwide betterment or optional funding, or can we get money through the Cape Cod, through the Barnstable County Wastewater Association, or is there some other program, we didn't have the opportunity to go through a financing decision first. We had to first learn, are we going to get in line for this money or not? That's the question.
Eventually, the first vote was ordered. Linda Hutchenreiter, the town clerk, had the call.
Councilor Barry.
No.
Councilor Barton.
Yes.
Councilor Kennedy.
Yes.
Councilor Cherigotis.
Yes.
Councilor Crocker.
No.
Councilor Curtis.
Yes.
Councilor Farnham.
Yes.
Councilor Jocham. No. Councilor Milne.
Yes.
Councilor Munifo.
No.
Councilor Rugo.
No.
Councilor Tinsley.
Yes.
Councilor Toby.
Yes.
But we need a two-thirds
You have
vote.
8 yes and 5 no.
There was a 2/3 vote, so that item does not pass. If we could move on.
You only have 8.
Can we take a 5-minute recess?
That first vote, as you heard, which went down to defeat as it didn't receive the necessary 2/3, dealt specifically with the Stewart's Creek project. Next on the agenda was a discussion and debate and vote over the Wocket Lake project. That, too, went down to defeat. The Town Council, however, did approve of a pump station construction project to take place at the intersection of West Main and Lincoln Road, right near Hyannis West Elementary School. The meeting eventually adjourned just after midnight, 5 hours after it began. As mentioned, the weather expected to be relatively nice this weekend. Anything is a nice change after what we've dealt with for the past month. If you have any opportunities, head on down to the Ocean Street docks or check out some of the other events taking place in the town of Barnstable. I'm Andrew Gobiel. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a great weekend.